Hey everyone, it's Jeff. Welcome back to the YouTube channel. And today I have a young NBA team that I think a lot of the NBA world is sleeping on. And maybe not for next season because obviously I don't think the Detroit Pistons are going to be great next season. But just in terms of having like a young core, right, and what I think they could be in the future, I think this team, has a higher ceiling than a lot of people are giving them credit for. And we're going to start with Cade Cunningham, who's pretty much going to be like the focus point of this entire video, right? The whole franchise kind of starts and ends with Cade Cunningham's development right now. And he had one of the more, I think, underappreciated rookie seasons by like a number one overall pick in the last few years for just a number of reasons, right? Like number one is the Pistons, right? They're a pretty small market team, and historically they haven't exactly had like the most media attention, even when they are good, right? But also number two, Cunningham himself is he's a pretty quiet personality, right? Compare him to Anthony Edwards last season, who the Timberwolves, they're not exactly a big market either, but Edwards, he's bubbly, he's energetic, right? He's just really charismatic, and Cunningham likes just kind of, he likes the ball. Cade is definitely a lot more quiet, keeps to himself, right? And also number three, he did miss like the first 20 games of last season, right? Where in that same stretch, you saw rookies like Evan Mobley, Scotty Barnes, right? Really just play extremely well. Cunningham missing that first half of the season when these rookies were getting a lot of praise and hype did kind of hurt his attention, I guess. But so just for a multitude of reasons, right? Cunningham, I think, didn't exactly have like the most heralded rookie season, even after averaging basically 17 points a game, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. And yeah, his efficiency, of course, wasn't that great. He shot 41% from the field, 31% from three, but plenty of other rookies in the Trae Young, Luka Doncic, right? Anthony Edwards last season, LaMelo Ball, they weren't exactly efficient either. So, however, just because the NBA media isn't giving Cade a lot of attention, that doesn't mean that us as NBA fans, right, shouldn't. Because I do think Cade Cunningham, like in theory, he sounds like a hell of a basketball player, right? And he should be someone that we're paying a lot of attention to. First off, he's 6'6". We love size in the NBA, of course, right? That's a new meta. These big players who can handle the ball, pass, score. And I'm not calling him Luka Doncic, of course, but I think the way he uses his size and strength and just plays with really fantastic pace and timing is really similar to Luka. The way Cade uses his physicality to get past defenders is really similar to Luka, because neither of these two players have the burst or speed to just blow past someone. So instead they bump players off balance, they muscle through guys, right? They're both below the rim players, but they still finish with timing, with pace, and with patience. Cade is also a phenomenal passer, and in college you didn't really see this because the game was a lot slower, so in the fast break he wasn't able to just kind of shoot out those outlet passes as he can in NBA, of course, right? And he only averaged like 3.5 assists, and I think, the difference between his actual passing and his assist numbers in college were probably some of the biggest I've seen in an NBA player. Being 6'6" is really just a huge advantage, right? Because it allows Cade to see over defenders and make passes to other shorter NBA players like Trae Young, who possibly has better actual vision than Cade Cunningham, but he can't get the same passes to defenders in the corner that Cade Cunningham can. He definitely had some sloppy passes last year, but I think just as he grows as an NBA player and gets more experiences, Cade Cunningham will figure out, okay, what passes can I get away with, right? What plays can I not get away with? Those bad sloppy passes will kind of trim down as Cade Cunningham just learns more about the NBA game, studies film, and I think he's a smart guy and he will learn from his mistakes. Now, unfortunately, he didn't shoot great from mid-range last season, just 37%, or from three, just 31%, but he did show a lot of really great shot creating skills and footwork, and I think those skills, right, will translate to being an elite scorer at the NBA level. And the form isn't perfect, but it is smooth enough, and I think shooting 85% from the free throw line is really encouraging, and it's not guaranteed, but I do think that Cade Cunningham could be like a 36% three-point shooter on like, 5 or 6 threes a game already by next season. I do think improving his mid-range would be really crucial for this, just like it is for pretty much every other below-the-rim athlete in the NBA, right? So if he doesn't get elite at that level, then maybe he caps out like a 23 points a game scorer instead of being a legit first option. And of course, this is one of those things where you can't predict or assume he's going to improve or just stay where he is right now. So, but just personally, I think based off the footwork, the pace, the skills he's shown so far, he has a really great chance of growing that part of his game. Moving on though, the Pistons also added Jaden Ivey this offseason, their number 5 overall pick from this year's draft, and I don't think you can ask for a better fit next to Cade Cunningham. And I think these two players' weaknesses and strengths really do complement each other really well, right? We talked about Cade Cunningham isn't the best athlete, whereas in Jaden Ivey's case, he is potentially one of the best athletes in the NBA already. And I think Donovan Mitchell, like a taller Donovan Mitchell, maybe like 2 or 3 inches, is a really great comparison for what Jaden Ivey could be in the NBA realistically. Ivey is also an uber explosive guard who has that insane fast twitch athleticism, right? It lets him get past pretty much anybody at the NBA level even, and just off the catch, if he can improve as a spot-up shooter and catch-and-shoot guy, he can be really deadly as this guy moving off ball next to Cade Cunningham. One of Ivy's biggest flaws is his playmaking and ball handling. In college, he played a kind of 1-2 hybrid role where in the NBA, scouts really weren't sure just how much that translated. Could he be a legit number one point guard? But with Cade Cunningham, a lot of those doubts are kind of a lot more diminished, right? Because you have Cade handling number one ball handling, passing duties. And I think Ivy definitely can be a number two passer and ball handler, right? So even if we doubt him as a number one decision maker, as a number two guy who just has to focus on scoring and making the second extra pass, yeah, Jaden Ivey can definitely be that guy. If Ivey can improve his jumper and just be more consistent in the NBA, he was an average shooter in college, right? But I think in the NBA, right, you look at Donovan Mitchell, again, Anthony Edwards, I think two similar players in terms of play style and strengths. Ivy could be a really deadly fit next to Cade Cunningham and be another 23, 24 points per game scorer. Sadiq Bey, their power forward slash small forward, is also a really excellent three-point shooter. I think he's definitely a lot more of a third option than a second option. I think he kind of lacks a lot of attacking the basket skills that makes him pretty inefficient as a scorer inside the three-point line. But I do think he will be a lot more comfortable in this third option role rather than second option role like he was in last season and the year before that, next to Cade Cunningham and Ivy hopefully in the future. He shoots a really smooth jumper, and I think Tobias Harris, former Pistons forward, is really similar to Sadiq Bey with the face-up moves and post work, and he's pretty big at 6'7" as well, so we'll see where that goes. But I do think he struggles to really attack the basket and be super efficient because of his average physical tools and shiftiness, but I think that's a lot less of a problem if he's a third option compared to being a second option like he was last season. They also added Jalen Duren this summer, who has the prototypical size and athleticism you want to see out of an NBA center, and he's definitely more polished than a lot of other run and jump big men coming into the league, and I think offensively he has more room to grow as him as well. Specifically with the jumper, I think there's a great chance Duren can be a really good mid-range shooter and perhaps even a three-point shooter. But defense is where I think Duren will make his biggest impact from day one. In college, he was a monster, and I think Detroit really needs a center like Duren to come in and be a solid, stalwart defensive presence. And I think offensively, even if his game takes more time to grow, having a really great passer like Cade Cunningham will make his life a lot easier. And I think with Isaiah Stewart, Nerlens Noel, Marvin Bagley, between these four guys, one of them is bound to be just a really quality, serviceable big man for the next 2 or 3 years, right? I think it's probably going to be Duren and then maybe Stewart next up. But again, with Cade Cunningham, I think making offense a lot easier for these guys. If they just focus on defense and being a positive impact there won't be a problem. But yeah, Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, Sadiq Bey, Jalen Duren, these four players are pretty much my main pitch for this team. Killian Hayes, of course, was a number 7 overall pick in I think the 2019 draft. He has not been very good in the NBA so far. He just doesn't really do anything particularly well, except maybe passing, but he can't really make shots. He's not really good at attacking the basket, so I'm not really sure if he even has a place in the NBA because of that. And I do think it'll get even harder for Hayes to earn minutes on this team with Ivy here, with Cade Cunningham, which I think these two players are the backcourt of the future. Now, personally, I'm actually not like in love with this group because while I do think the ceiling is obviously really high, and you can see how all these pieces make sense together, that doesn't actually mean the execution will be there, right? I think it's definitely very dependent on how good Cade Cunningham can be. And while I do think he has the tools and potential to be a top 10 player, getting there is really hard. Pretty much every top 5 pick in every single draft has like top 10 player potential, right? That's why the draft is so high. But actually getting there is hard because a lot of things have to go right. The team situation, work ethic, coaching, injury luck, a lot of things have to go right. So while Cade Cunningham, I think he has pretty much like as good of a shot as anybody does realistically, that doesn't mean he'll actually get there. However, despite that, I do think most NBA fans are really just sleeping on this team. Maybe because they're Pistons, maybe because they're not big fans of Cade Cunningham, they prefer Evan Mobley or Scottie Barnes. Every time you bring up complimenting Cade Cunningham, everyone just kind of points to, oh, Scottie Barnes is better, Evan Mobley better, which perhaps they might be better, right? But that doesn't mean Cade himself isn't exciting. Overall, I think Troy Weaver, who, by the way, is the Pistons GM, has done a pretty solid job so far. And of course, he's had some missteps, right? Like drafting Killian Hayes, number 7 overall. But to be fair, even all the really great GMs make some bad moves, right? For example, Bob Myers taking Ekpe Udoh, number 5, number 4 overall back in like 2012 or something. But I think signing Jeremy Grant, trading him for assets, drafting Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, now adding Duren, getting rid of Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond, those are all really fantastic moves to kind of move this team in the right direction. As for Dwayne Casey, of course, he's not the best coach in the NBA. He's gotten a lot of flack since being replaced with the Raptors. Nick Nurse comes in and immediately wins a championship, right? So Casey, his reputation isn't exactly the best, but I think he's actually a really great coach for a young team like this who needs leadership, they need culture, they need a guy in the locker room who really holds these guys together. And I think Dwayne Casey, even if he's not the most creative offensive mind or defensive guru, has shown in the past that he is a solid leader who can install a winning culture with this team. So yeah, overall, I do think this Pistons future is pretty interesting, and I hope I'm kind of selling you guys on them as well. Personally, again, I'm not like the biggest fan or in love with it, but I do think it is really interesting and worth paying attention to. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for today. Hope you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.